Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel Sandner, and I am the owner and operator of Out of This World Entertainment. Just recently, my film company released a short film called In Pieces, and for those of you who may not have seen it, it's available on my Facebook and YouTube channel. Now, it was a collaboration between myself and my friends, all of us kind of getting a chance to sport our own talents and abilities. Matthew McLaughlin with his photography and co-directing, Tristan Dye with his acting, as well as Callie Huckins, Garrett Kiesel with Kiesel Creative, and Torrin Hopkins-Arnold for the music, for Lord of Thunder scoring. And so we all kind of came together to collaboratively make this short film. And I have to say it was probably one of the hardest short films that we have ever made. Typically our films are pretty silly, they're not taken too seriously, but this one is totally different. It changes everything that we have ever done, and for that reason it was very difficult because it involved nonlinear storytelling, and it didn't really have a set storyline. It was the kind of story that you could perceive in any sort of direction. You could choose your own adventure, per se, and it made it really difficult and very unique in the long run. So, by request, I am going to do a director's commentary for the film and let you guys know what I was thinking throughout the film, give you some tidbits, some factoids, and just kind of watch the film with you and give you an idea of what I'm thinking throughout this process and, what it took to get to this final product. So without further ado, we'll get going. So to get started, I'm going to be watching it down here on my laptop, and I will have it up on the screen for you. I'll be down in the bottom corner over here, and we'll get going. So, starting right off with the title logo, this is sort of the crowning achievement for Out of This World Entertainment, everything we have worked up to thus far. So, getting into the beginning here, like I said, this film was a collaboration between all of us friends, so you'll see all of our strengths and weaknesses played out here, starting out with somewhat of a title sequence. This opening sequence was really quite hard to put together because I knew I wanted to introduce characters and scenes, like the two star-crossed lovers, starting to introduce the main characters to the audience without really giving anything away, as well as, things to intrigue people like Local Gone Missing and so on and so forth. And so initially this was just kind of a mixed match of scenes, but we figured that it was best when I was editing this to make it a title sequence to introduce the actors, actresses, and folks who put it together in a fairly classic style. So you'll see a lot of scenes in here that were not used in the actual film, and only show up in this opening scene. So this was a good chance for Tristan, myself, and Matthew to really collaborate with a storyline. This story came from a poem that Tristan found, and it was really an intriguing poem. We'll leave it right here at the title. So the poem I had rewritten, and so what you hear in the film right now is the rewritten version, because the original poem was pretty short. It was, kind of weak in some ways, but the meaning behind it was really very cool. The idea of a light and a dark side to all of us, and so we decided to take a character who had somewhat of a shattered past and sort of see where he goes with that past as the dark side and the light side kind of interact with each other as the dark side brings itself up occasionally, and the light side trying to suppress that dark side. So we really liked playing with this idea and eventually came up with the title In Pieces, because under this immense amount of pressure and these past experiences, it's almost like he is, starting to crack under the pressure. And so we thought it was a cool thing to go with. So we'll continue here past the title. And this, just so you know, this opening score was all Torrin Hopkins-Arnold, very talented pianist, and a wonderful opening score for the film. So as those of you who live in Durango will recognize, this was filmed downtown in the wintertime. It was pretty cold. The whole film was filmed in the wintertime, so it was pretty cold. We filmed it over Christmas break, and that, of course, left for a short filming window and, cold weather throughout, so we always had blankets on hand and such. But we took the team downtown, got some shots around town, and we really liked the idea of starting out the film with the main character, Ben, walking downtown. He's being a normal guy, headed to school or what have you with his backpack, and he comes across something that just kind of triggers him off. And so we really like the idea of him walking by like a dark alley, sort of a Batman type thing, where the image of looking down this alley brings up a past experience that he had in a dark place like an alley. And so we start off by kind of introducing him. He's even-tempered, walking downtown. This scene right here with the time lapse is sort of an homage to Breaking Bad. For those of you who've seen Breaking Bad, the really cool time lapse transitions. So, anyways, little fun fact. So we had the perfect alley in mind for this. When we wrote the screenplay, we knew that this was going to be our alley, the one right here behind Jean-Pierre, because it just looks so eerie. And so we start seeing early in the film here that he is beginning to see glimpses of his past, and they're in very little detail, but they're pretty profound. They're tinted red to kind of hit that point home. But you're given very little information at this point. So really the only thing you know now is that there's this guy. You don't really know who he is, and that's never really explained, but you know that he has some sort of a past. And so this alley kind of triggers off in a pretty simple, easy to understand way that this is the case. So this shot right here, ending the scene, is pretty cool because we achieved it on a homemade jib that I had made a long time ago and never gotten a chance to use. And so it's a simple mechanism, and it was pretty fun. We had a lot of people coming by and asking us what we were doing, and so pretty fun filming downtown. People were helpful and fun getting all of those questions. So another Breaking Bad transition type thing here. So the clock kind of came about during editing, not only as a way to transition to him being at the college and being a student, but it kind of came about as a character of its own. I'm going to pause it right here. It came about as a character of its own, and kind of, accidentally. And so I had gotten shots of the clock, kind of to show that he's on a college campus, and that was really all I had thought of it. And so when I got to editing, I realized that it could be really cool to kind of throw in the character of time into all of this. Because, as a lot of us know, as we've experienced problems in our lives, typically time either makes or breaks the problem. And so I really liked the character of time and decided to add in the clock tolling and the clock tower itself, not only because Fort Lewis has a beautiful clock tower, but I decided to throw in the character of time to kind of show that that his time is limited, and that he is, that it's counting down. And so I really liked the tolling of the clock. It's a really definitive way to show that, time is winding down. So anyways, resuming it here, the last fun fact I'll leave you here is that this clock tower, when I videoed it, actually was reading noon. And so I had to go and take pictures and then superimpose a new time onto all of these shots here. Like this one, I'm very proud of that one. It took a long time to really get it to look right. So, side thing, pausing it here on Noble Hall. For those of you who know the fort, it's one of the halls around there. But it actually kind of, again, another editing accident, so to speak, came about to be a really good thing, because he's at school, and he's really trying to keep these dark past problems suppressed. And so that's part of the reason he's still continuing with school to keep everything going. And I just realized when I was editing that, that is his noble side. That is his good, light, truthful side, trying to suppress the dark. not so nice, not so truthful side. And so I really like the Noble Hall as kind of a parallel for that good side of Ben. So anyways, side note, we'll continue on here. So filming this during Christmas break, no students were around. The folks who were there cleaning graciously let us film without a problem. So we were able to set up our dolly track in here, getting Tristan Ben, I guess, is the character, get his distressed look as it cuts between his past is still haunting him. This is my favorite shot right here. This shot is so nice. We did that with a dolly tripod, super simple shot. Turned out really nice. We love to get the contrast, the light and the dark. So this scene, it's showing that, of course his past is challenging. I mean, throughout the whole film, the past is going to be challenging the present. This one is really showing that he's here. He's trying to suppress his past. He's trying to do something about all these bad things and leave it in the past. Leave these terrible things that you're starting to discover in the past. And so this part is really starting to show glimpses of his future and showing that his past is catching up with him. And even though he's trying to do something about it, it can't be hidden, And so it's giving that. And then, of course, the Hitchcock effect right there. We'll talk about that later. So the only time we have any more people than two, I'm going to pause it right here because I have a couple things to say. We had wonderful high schoolers come and help us fill in the classroom, make it look like a full classroom. And then paused here on Torrin. So for those of you who don't know, this is Torrin Hopkins Arnold writing on the board. And he is the one who did the music for the film. Very talented musician. And this whole scene right here in the classroom was Matthew's child. This was where his directing came in, and he really wanted to tackle this scene because it has some really cool elements to it. So he had Torrin as the professor, just because he kind of looks like a college professor. And so technically, Tristan is in a psychology class. And so he's taking notes, doing his thing in the psychology class. You see his textbook, that kind of thing. Interestingly enough, Torrin, if you pay close enough attention, is writing molecular structures for certain elements on the board because he's an engineering major. So kind of funny there. And so as I was saying, I'll replay it here. This was Matthew's scene right here, and we knew from the beginning that we wanted this continuous shot starting right here. We'll pause it right here on his paper. I'm getting ahead of myself. But we wanted this continuous shot where it came in and it showed what he was doing. It showed that he was a student up there. He looked in his bag where he got a glimpse of his past coming back at him. You see the gun. And then it comes back out, and then it does a Hitchcock effect onto his face. Very cool effect. But what we really wanted was a practical effect where the class disappeared. And so we used some old school George Méliès camera trickery to make the class disappear. And so you'll see as we go over here, first off, notice his name on the paper. You'll see that it says Ben Smith. That's just his normal name. We go in, look into his backpack. This was Matthew doing the filming. As his past starts to flash up with the toll of the bell, chiming. There's a cameo by me in the back. I'm reading the screenplay. But it comes in on his face here as the bell is tolling. His time's running down. His past is catching up with him. And as he comes back out, you'll notice, of course, the class is totally gone. No, not a trace of the class. So we'll pause it right here, setting his glasses down. And so we did this just with a basic quick cut. We came in, and it's actually on screen. The quick cut is on screen. It's not really masked by any of the cutaways, which makes it really cool. And so Tristan was tasked with staying still, and Matthew with trying to keep his side of his face in there. And then in post, I just went in, lined it up, did the quick cut, and it was a super simple effect. And so Matthew came in, and he called out when he zoomed in on Tristan's face. He said, "Go," and we all just ditched it around the camera and stationed ourselves back there. And then as he pulled out, you'll notice there's no trace of the class. So it took a little bit of choreography, but it was a really fun effect to pull off. Practical effects are always so much fun. But then you notice that it's just him in his mind, that he's at school trying to better himself, trying to forget this past. But it's all up here, and not actually happening for real. So you'll see evidence of this by when he knocks his paper off and his glasses highlight his new name, Justin, his alter ego, his bad suppressed side. And you'll see the blood red sunset and the fact that the new time is now 8 o'clock. And so all of this being in his mind, time has gone by, and nothing is helping. So now we're up here on the stairs. This place, for anyone who doesn't know it, it's called 11th Street Station, and it has this really cool spiral staircase in the building right next to it. And it's great for filming, photography. People use it all the time. But we thought this was a really cool place for him to think. And you'll see that he's in a different outfit. And he's, we'll go ahead and pause it here at the necklace. You'll see that he's in a different outfit. And so there's a couple things you'll notice here in the film. Is that now that we've introduced a secondary character, a secondary personality of Justin, you're going to start seeing a difference between Ben and Justin, both in the way that Tristan portrays the two characters and their personality types, but also in their costuming and in the certain things that they have or do. And so we'll see that this character, Justin, currently is dressed with darker hair, slicked back, a lot angrier, not really afraid, but more confident. And so this was something that Tristan really liked playing with, and that's why he chose the poem. He really liked, the difference between the light and the dark. We did as well, Matthew and I, when we started writing this. And so when I had written the screenplay for this, I really wanted to focus on someone with almost that of split personality disorder. So when we were writing it, that's what we had in mind. So for those of you who maybe guessed that he had some sort of disorder, you are correct. But we didn't want to really preach that necessarily. We wanted people to think that it might just be a terrible past and all these memories, or it could be a legitimate problem. So by the fact that he has two personalities, we did intend it to be almost that of a split personality disorder. So you'll notice the difference there and the way he acts. So keep an eye out for that as we keep going. So you'll see he pulls out a necklace. The necklace says Ben. It's somewhat of a keepsake. And so this necklace starts to bring up memories of his lost love. And this lost love has never really gone into detail as to who it is, who she is, or, what happened to her necessarily. And so this is the keepsake that he has from her. It's the memory of her that is being kept alive throughout both his light and dark side. And so you'll notice that in this scene, her face is never shown. Her identity is never known. For those of you who know her, it's Callie. It's my girlfriend. So as you can imagine, the scene was kind of awkward to film. But for those of you who don't know her, we really tried to mask her out and just really give you, highlights of her face and silhouettes to just know that there's a present, that he loves her. And in both the narration here, this whole scene was written in. I totally wrote in this scene as for the narration, because I really felt it was a necessary part of a light and a dark. It gives him motivation to either suppress or not suppress this dark. And so we wrote in this whole bracelet thing, this whole memory. I'll stop it here of her putting on the bracelet on his wrist. But I wrote this in because I really thought it was a good motivation. And it really kind of brought about somewhat of the storyline. And so that way, it gives you background information as to why he has a dark past, or just his different character types. It really brings out that he was totally in love and then something happened, whether it was within or so on and so forth. So it was able to bring up a more complex storyline, keep you thinking, and really give him some motivation as to why he is having this problem. And so this bracelet was made by Callie, so it was pretty authentic there. She made two of them, one we could destroy and one we have. So I actually have the bracelet right up here. This is the one that they have in that scene right there. So it's a fun thing. But anyways, so this scene really was an important scene. I really felt it was giving the whole film some sort of motivation, and you're starting to learn now why he's having these problems, or who it might be on the other side of the barrel of the gun. So But yeah, we'll continue here. Yeah, awkward scene to film, but I really thought it pulled off nicely. It was kind of an intimate scene showing the strong bond that these two had, in whatever form of relationship they were. Even I don't know what they were. And so you'll see that this is really troubling to him, having this flashback, because he's not really sure what to do next. And so he debates throwing the bracelet off the balcony. But who knows about that. So this was a really good chance for Tristan to really kind of explore certain characteristics within each of the characters and within his acting method, so on and so forth. So it really gave him a good chance to explore himself.
Love finds a way to escape.
So, and then the narration, of course, kind of explaining what's going on too. Moving into this next scene, this transition took me a very long time. For those of you who know what rotoscoping is, you could probably understand why. This whole entire next scene I had to rotoscope, which meant that I had to trace Tristan. You can see right here, I'll pause it on the black. I had to trace Tristan all the way around his one side, dot by dot, and then I had to, what's called keyframing. I had to move those dots for every single frame that was shot. So then it would be this smooth mask all the way around. So, long time, took a very long time, but it made for a really cool transition. So we'll keep moving on. So this next setting is the basement, and you've been getting glimpses of the door and certain things in it thus far. And this is really where the light, like here, encounters the dark. And this was actually a crawl space at his parents' house. Cool crawl space. I mean, you could basically stand up. I'm tall, so I really couldn't. But wide open, eerie kind of crawl space. So we went in, Matthew and myself, he was kind of the props director, and we went in and we set up this environment that you see here with all of these things, where is he, or local gone missing, or, missing girl. You have books on love, books on psychology, and it really just kind of sets up the issues that you're starting to see within his mind. You have clocks for time, and then you have this box with chains around it. And so you can tell that he's really unhappy with himself. There's a knife through a picture of him, and so on and so forth. So we tried to go into a lot of detail to really explain certain elements of each of these characters, Ben or Justin, and why all of this is coming about, giving you some background information as to, the murder victim you saw earlier. And then as we start to go into the scene, you start to see more and more evidence, more and more is shown of his past, and it starts to become a little more clear. So he's coming down here, and this scene is kind of showing he's beginning to tackle the dark. I mean, you can see that he's dressed in his school clothes and his glasses and everything for his Ben character, but he is full on at this point facing Justin. I'm gonna go ahead and pause on this next scene here. And it is the scene that a lot of you who have watched this know as the like the double Tristan scene. So this scene was something that I thought would be a really cool kind of a simple way to show that he is battling himself, that he's battling his alter ego. And so this scene was pretty hard to film because we were limited on space. But for those of you who want the whole VFX breakdown, we put him in front of a green screen down here in the basement. And then we filmed Justin walking behind the wood separately. And so what I did is I had to go in there and I had to get rid of the green screen, so it was just him. And then we had the camera moving for the background for Justin's character, and then I put Tristan in the foreground and just lined it up. There were a couple hiccups in the process I had to do, like what I talked about earlier, rotoscoping for some of it because it didn't totally work. And then the wall comes out and clears that out. So this scene was hard to do, but I love the way it looks because it switches the focus between Ben and Justin, showing that he's really starting to confront his darker self and his dark past. So anyways, we'll let you watch the effect here. Very, very proud of this effect. No fake lightning or anything like I've done in other videos. This one was a pretty hard but very important effect to the storyline. So he's starting to come into this back part of the crawl space here, and he's going to start seeing all of these memories of his past, these things that he's trying to block away in somewhat of this shrine configuration. It's something that, that consumes him so much that it's almost like he's worshiping it, or that it's a this constant reminder happening that he can't decide what to do about. So he's just kind of hid it in the back of his he's just hidden it in the back of his crawl space. So we start to see the box here. We've been seeing glimpses of it here and there, glimpses of the door. You see all of the papers above, the newspaper articles, that kind of thing. So he's full on confronting himself at this point. So this box we got from the thrift store. It was pretty cool. It's just a book box kind of thing. So you start to see, even too, I had someone comment on those chess pieces, really liking the added detail of the light and dark characters of the chess pieces and everything. So, details like that, the more you look at the scene, the more you'll see beer bottles for alcoholism, that kind of thing. So he's going to start opening the box here. We have this lone single light, his sanity, his good side dwindling is what that single light means. So he's grabbing the key to the box, confronting his fears. So this scene was really very crucial to the plot because it started to explain to you what was going on, sorta, and it started to lead you down different paths of potential outcomes that you could be following, whether he murdered his significant other, or is just someone who's money hungry, or whatever the case may be. And so as he opens the box, the memories pour in. He rips it open. He's in distress. So as he opens the box, you'll notice there's a picture of his significant other. Kind of hard to make out detail. It's Callie. A picture that she gave me from her senior photo shoot. So my picture. Anyways, and he looks in, you see things like money, and I kind of left the box dark on purpose. We had gotten a couple shots where you can kind of see into it, but it has things like, wrapping paper bits, it has money, it has bullet casings, it has cigarettes, that kind of thing. It has just a bunch of stuff in it that each represent a dark memory in his past, a dark or light memory. So first thing he gravitates to is the gun, and it brings up instant memories of past violence. And so the mugging, money came from mugging. You can see he's Justin now when he is doing that. And then, of course, this woman here that you have seen a little bit before. I'm going to pause it on her because there's a little interesting fact here. So you don't really know what happened to her or who she was. Her face is hidden. For those of you who know my friend group, then it was probably pretty easy to figure out that this was not Callie. For those of you who didn't, you might not have noticed. And we kind of did that on purpose. This is actually my good friend Asia. Interestingly enough, something that was, again, a coincidence, was the fact that her last name is Smith. And Ben, the character Ben, his last name is also Smith. So that could lead to say that those of you who don't know Callie could see this as his significant other that he murdered. So ways to kind of lead you astray, to lead you down different paths, like, did he murder her, or is he just murdering people? Is he, what's the whole story behind here? So you see him kind of looting this woman as if, he really doesn't care about anything else besides the money behind it. So, different explanations. We really did want it to be an up for interpretation kind of film. So we saw the bracelet that was given to him before. This bracelet, you can now see is damaged, it's bloodied, which can imply, anything happened to her, to his significant other, or that it's something that he used, because in most scenes that you see him committing crimes, he's wearing the bracelet. So it can be tied to any of those things. And this is just showing that he was happy. He was happy with her, and something happened. Here is his moment of internal struggle. And so he doesn't really know what to do. This is his moment of self-discovery where it's make or break for him. And so you'll see here putting the gun away as if he just committed some murder or the muggings or anything to get money or even just to kill. And then you'll see as the gunshot snaps back and forth. You'll see the bullet casings there. You'll see that that it's just really, really bothering him. You'll see the bracelet on and so on. So at this moment, you start hearing glass break. And so that was something that I kind of chose to do in the editing process. That was really symbolic of what was happening inside. So yeah, there you go. He's wearing the bracelet as he's shooting the gun. And so the glass breaking, and as the scenes snap, you can see the red tint starting to ensue, like his dark side coming back. So a lot of elements to kind of create the dark side coming back at him. So at this point, you kind of see a change in his mood, and you can see that he's kind of reverting back to his Justin character.
Every light.
And so at this point,
a shadow.
He has turned over to
shadow
his dark past, and now he's starting to challenge the light. So this is the moment that everything turns around, and so you see that he's challenging that one glimmer of light. And from here on out, you don't know what he's going to do. You can see that he's basically slipping into insanity. He's challenging the light. The red is coming in, and you can see that it's just consuming. And then, of course, the creepy ending. And so, stopping here on the box for a moment, the ending needed to be, of course, intense, and so there are layers upon layers of sound happening and things to really make that moment big. And so, because the moment he picks up the gun, he starts to see these things, and for a moment, it seems desirable. It seems like he should just revert back, because it's almost as if he is happy in that darker corner of his life. And so he has now reverted back to the dark corner. You see him change back to his mood as Justin, and then challenges the light. So at the end there, of course, there's no definitive answer. I can't offer you any definitive answer, except for he pretty much went crazy, that the darkness consumed him. And whether or not he can snap back from it or what happens next, it's totally up to you, and that's how it was meant to be. So finishing the box here, and then I told you I would talk a little more about this Hitchcock effect right here at the door. I'll pause it again. That Hitchcock effect right there was really fun to pull off. It took Callie and I some time on the dolly to do it. And for those of you who don't know what the Hitchcock effect is, I mean, it's what you just saw. It's where the foreground stays still and the background moves, typically rapidly according to the foreground. And it's a very eerie kind of effect made by Alfred Hitchcock, or pioneered by Alfred Hitchcock. And so we thought it was a really cool way to emphasize these big objects in his life, the door and the box and all of this stuff going on. And so it took us a lot of time just playing around with the dolly and me getting the zoom rocker perfect on my camera, and we pulled it off and it looked super cool. So, and then of course this final gunshot, I'll play it again, to end out the film. And at the beginning you just saw the glass for the title break in two spots, and at the end of the film it shatters. So now the music you're hearing here as the titles roll again is Torin. And his awesome skill. It's a super epic ending, like everything I could have hoped for. And then you'll also see that I used Audio Machine, and so that is it's a professional source of audio that you can license music from, and it gets you this really cool library of music from other creators like Torin. So you can imagine it's sort of like SoundCloud, but with better quality. And a lot of this stuff is used in professional trailers and actual films. So it gave us a really cool professional soundtrack. And then, of course, with what Torin did and the awesome professionalism that was there too. And then the end credits, the ending of the film, the 20 minutes of you probably thinking what's going on. And then at the end, it really leaves you up to your own mind and what you think happened. So getting to the end credits, you'll see a lot of redundancy in names, but we all put our blood, sweat, and tears into this film. I'll pause it right here as we get into post-production, because I have a little thing to point out. But we all put in our blood, sweat, and tears, and we had tons of folks coming in and helping on filming days, carrying gear or getting snacks or blanket runs. I'm sure as you saw in the bloopers, Torin was a blanket holder a lot of the time, and it was great. And so we just had a lot of folks doing a lot of things. So getting down here right above post-production, for you eagle-eyed viewers, you'll see catering. The reason it says City Market Bakery, a little fun thing for you, is we got donuts most mornings from City Market. And according to Tristan, they were like the best donuts he had ever had in his entire life. So we basically lived on City Market donuts during a lot of production. So little fun fact, we'll continue through the credits here. I did the special effects all myself, the editing. Matthew helped me with the cinematography, and then the story was written by Tristan Matthew and myself, based off of the poem by Katrina Wendt. So music here, I really wanted the credits to be a very professional feel. I wanted them to be, what you would see in an actual short film or an actual film, giving credit to everything that everyone had done. So they were hard to do. Credits are always hard. But we have special thanks here, and I really like for the cast and crew who put their time and talent into this film as if they were getting paid. No one got paid, unfortunately. Just the payoff that we got to make a fun film. So as the credits end up here with the legal stuff at the end, we'll go ahead and stop it there. And just a couple last thoughts for you. As the director, this film was amazing. It was really a crowning achievement for me and my friends from what we have come from. We have been making, as a lot of you may know, cheesy, fun friend films, ones that rely on cheap comedy, and occasionally we'll make a more serious film, and we have some in the works right now, but we really wanted to do something serious. We wanted to do something that would show off our talents and where people could take us seriously, or at least more seriously. And so this film, many months in the editing and a month or two in the filming and the pre-planning, a month there too. And so it was almost a full year project in the end. And it was hard, but oh my goodness, the payoff was wonderful. And people were asking me when it was going to be released all the time, and giving me their views on what they took from it, on their thought on how the storyline had progressed. And it's very cool to see that the film that we had made is really making people think, and really giving us a chance to progress in our creative storytelling and in our talents, and be able to entertain you lovely folks on the other side of the screen, and all of your support for us is just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful that we can do this for you, and really enjoy the process in the end. So I'll go ahead and stop rambling. I'm sure you've had enough at this point, but here it is, the director's commentary for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you gained some insight. If you have any more questions, you can definitely comment below, and I'd be happy to answer any more questions for you. Thank you all for watching the film, and I really hope you enjoyed In Pieces.